Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the How Women Write podcast. I'm really excited to get to know Pippa Wilford today and excited for you to get to know her too. She is a UK-based mentor, human design reader, and transactional analysis practitioner. Say that three times fast. She works with capable professionals who've, in quotes, succeeded and still feel like there's something missing. She's the founder of Dagaz, author of The Nurtured Nest 2023, and co-authored Design to Thrive in 2026, a human design guide for parents. She also sends a full moon newsletter, could not love this more, called From the Water's Edge. Welcome, Pippa. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Jacqueline. It's a pleasure to be here.
You named your business after the rune for daybreak, and I love this imagery. So the moment when things become clear, when the day starts. I'm curious when you might have experienced your own daybreak moment as a writer.
Oh, I think there were several of those.
There usually is.
Yes. We could go back to childhood. My parents had a ritual of Sunday lunch with my grandmother, and it was really quite boring for me on my own as the only child present. And so I'd save up my English homework to have to go and do it after lunch on Sunday, and then disappear upstairs and spend the afternoon happily writing stories. Very often they were to do with animals. And so it would be families of guinea pigs or cats or something. Of course, it wasn't really the animals, it was more to do with relationship. But that was perhaps my starting point of enjoying the process of writing. And then it keeps kind of coming back. Early in my career, I was in the civil service and was needing to write reports. And I seemed to be reasonably competent at that.
Right.
Then I was doing a lot of recruitment for a company, and an executive coaching book was being birthed by, a contact of a friend's mother's sister's aunt. Who then found me and said, oh, if I've got lots of practical stuff, would I write the introduction to that? So I did. But it wasn't really, I suppose, until kind of back end of 2022 when I felt I'd really got ahead of steam. There was stuff that I would like to say to people like me who had been struggling with trying to do it all. The wife, the mother, the corporate executive, the carer of elderly parents, and stretched too thinly. So what had I learnt that I'd like to share? And what did I wish I'd known when I was in the thick of it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the Nurtured Nest started from. And because I was writing the Nurtured Nest and was actually being mentored by Shaitan at the time, he then said, well, a German publishers asked me if I would write a parenting book, and I wondered if you'd write it with me. So one book spawned the next book, and then somebody said, I've been really bothered about personal development because people jump into things without having the basics, and so they wonder why these programs don't work, but there's things they need to perhaps consider first. Would I help her with that? So it's kind of like, oh, yes, well, there's a workbook that actually comes out in July. So it's a bit like a snowball. It kind of rolls. I've always enjoyed writing, so perhaps it's not a surprise that it's come full circle, if you like, to writing regularly.
Yes, I love that. So it sounds like it's been fairly recent since the spark to write books came about. You were competent in your business writing, like the professional kind. It's like, oh, sure. So the first book being a co-authored book, the second book's co-authored book. So The Nurtured Nest, the spark for that. Tell us what the early days of writing that looked like.
Well, I received a piece of wisdom before I started, which was absolute gold dust. And this was Angela Laurie, I think she's now Kingdom, who recommended that I write for half an hour, answering a question. It could be any question. In this case, it was why I wrote this book, but just write for half an hour, stream of consciousness. And if you run out of things to write, carry on writing. I don't know what to write now, but I'm still going.
Yeah.
So that I could understand what my average words per hour was.
Okay.
And then write no slower. And if you start to find you're writing more slowly, stop, go away, and come back to it. And that was the most brilliant piece of advice, because it meant that I was writing fluently. I was writing, yes, stuff that I knew, but sometimes it was almost stuff that was coming through me as well as from me. And it got rid of any sense of perfectionism. That came later in the editing.
Yes.
I couldn't find the right word, it didn't matter, just get it down on paper.
Exactly.
So actually, writing the first draft of The Nurtured Nest was quite quick. It also wasn't the book I thought I was going to write when I first sat down.
I know that. So what did you think it was when you started?
I suspect that's quite a common feature, actually. But it was fun to see some things that I'd almost buried, whether they were stories from my past, some of my transactional analysis learning, that just sort of suddenly flowed out of me. And it was like, oh, where did that come from? I'd forgotten that, but here I am writing it. Interesting. It made the process more fun. It made it more fluent. And it made the editing a different process instead of trying to edit as I went, which is what I'd done with professional writing, corporate stuff before.
I love that so much for so many reasons. That's exactly what I teach. Writing and editing are two different things because it slows you down. So, what a joy to have your first book come out and be fun. Like the process was great. To clarify, when you were talking about stream of consciousness writing, was that pen and paper or was that typing stream of consciousness?
The advice was however I planned on actually writing.
Good.
If I was going to dictate it, do it dictating. If I was going to write longhand, write longhand. I'm a reasonably fast typist. Not always all that accurate, so I typed. I knew what I meant. I could, again, not worry about, oh, I've got an E and an I the wrong way around. Never mind, we'll come back to it later.
Yes, that's so great. That is a gift and absolute gold dust that you went into your first book knowing that.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And honestly, I didn't know that's what you taught. So how lovely is that?
Yeah, I teach that because I've done it the other way, the hard way, the editing while you write. It slows so many people down. And honestly, that's the number one thing that when I tell people anything about writing, if you do one thing, separate writing and editing. They are not the same. They
Yes.
do not belong together. It slows you down, it makes you think, which makes you overthink, which makes you censor yourself, filter your voice. And because you didn't do that, you showed up at the page and the stuff that came through surprised you. If you were
Yes.
thinking, that wouldn't have happened.
No, it wouldn't have happened. And I enjoyed the process more. I also enjoyed the editing process,
Good.
which I suspect I might not have done if I'd spent hours on the text the first time to then go back and have to spend more hours on it.
Yeah.
It would be hideous. But
Yeah.
because I'd rushed through to get a rubbish first draft, I mean, it wasn't that rubbish, but it wasn't anywhere near where I wanted it to be. But then when I went back and I could fine tune it and I could think for actually, what's the most accurate word here? What would really make this particular story sing? It's a little flat, it needs a bit more colour. Oh, yes. And it was much more obvious what the editing process needed to be. And I did work with a fabulous editor. And that
Yes.
is something else that is gold dust, I think, because when you're very close to a manuscript, it can be very hard to see, actually, it would be really good if chapter 7 came before chapter 3. And to have somebody else look at it and go, oh, I really loved this. You know, can we highlight it in some way?
Yeah.
With The Nurtured Nest, my editor, one of her first comments to me was, my relationship with my daughter has changed for the better for having read this manuscript. And that gave me shivers. And it was like, okay, job done. You know, if the book does nothing else, it was worth writing.
Yes, I love
So,
that.
but a good editor is gold dust.
I totally agree with you for so many reasons. I will always hire editors because you're so close to the materials. You lived it. And I'm glad she said that because if she had that experience that it changed her relationship with her daughter, you know that that's one person, you know that there's got to be more.
Yeah, exactly. So, and when something feels worthwhile, then you're encouraged to do more.
Exactly.
Hence the snowball earlier.
Yes.
Here's another. Oh, here's another opportunity.
Yes, I love that. So
Yeah,
roughly how long did it take the drafting and the editing process? How long did that take to come together?
actually, from start to finish, it was about 6 months. Possibly, actually, even shorter than that because we had the typesetting. So probably 4 months. The trouble with words is that you can spend an awful long time trying to find absolutely the right one. And where does the sentence absolutely sit? And you can try and produce something that is the most marvelous crystal chandelier when actually all somebody needs is a light bulb.
Hmm.
So when somebody said a book will take as long to write as you give it, there's a lot of value in that. And yes, life can get in the way, but I like the idea of having something time bound that gets the first bit of the job done reasonably quickly, and then you can refine. It's back to your editing second. But, how long is a piece of string? You can take 6 weeks or 6 years to write a book.
Yes, exactly. Did you have any habits that you employed as you were writing? Did you write in different parts of your home? What kind of things did you do?
No, I wrote at my desk. I blocked out time in my diary for writing, and I'd I'd got a rough sense of how long the book might be. On average, books are of that sort of nature was going to be somewhere between a sort of 20 and 40,000 words. Maybe a magnum opus would be more than that, but I figured that, if I was looking at something, I think mine came out at about 32,000 words in the end. But if I was looking at something like that and I knew my average words per hour, I blocked out double that time. So I'd got time because I know my own energy and my own system. And if I'm on a roll, I can move mountains quickly. If I'm not, it's like pulling teeth. So I gave myself the grace of extra space in my diary so that I could roll when I got it all flowing. And if it wasn't flowing, I could walk away knowing that I wasn't going to be bumping up against deadlines in a difficult fashion.
Oh, that's so good. I love that you gave yourself that space and grace to be able to do that and not feel pressure because pressure doesn't always work well.
No, it doesn't. And I am better writing at midday than midnight. It might be the other way round, but it's good to have some kind of schedule. And I had life going on at the same time. It wasn't a solo project.
Right.
So it's important to block space. And I personally can't write half an hour here and half an hour there. I reckon 4 hour blocks of time. And that seemed to work quite well for me.
That's great. Clearly, knowing yourself really helped you get the materials out.
I think it helps everyone. And I think a lot of writers are writing from the heart. And for women, that perhaps particularly can be quite tender.
Hmm.
So giving yourself grace whilst you're writing is really supportive, whether that's your favorite tea, your favorite mug, beautiful flowers, something that is supporting your environment and your natural rhythm is going to mean you come out with a better product at the end.
Absolutely. I love that. I'm curious how human design played into your writing, if it helped you design how you write, because human design talks about strategy and authority. I know a little bit about human design. Did it help you write?
Yes, absolutely. So you probably heard me talk about managing my energy. I am a projector. I do
Okay.
not have consistent access to power energetically, which is why I made sure I'd got space to roll when I was rolling. When projectors are on a roll, we can move mountains probably as fast or faster than anybody else. And then we have to retire and recover for a bit before we go again.
Yeah.
So that again was my 4 hour blocks worked for me. And they could have been 2 hour blocks, but they were 4 hours to give myself time to go and I've got an idea. Where's it coming from? No, let's make a coffee, come back. Ah, got it. Roll with it. So that was helpful. And projectors love to be invited. So the invitation to writing the next book was pure gold for me.
Yeah. I had a sense you were a projector based on the space that you were describing. I love that. That makes so much sense. I'm a generator. I have the battery that just keeps going.
Which is fabulous.
Yeah,
And each type has its different strengths and its different challenges.
exactly.
A generator trying to push through when it's really not something you're enjoying is very hard.
Been there, done that. Wrote books about it even.
Yeah, but sometimes your capacity, I've started, so I'll finish, is something that I could emulate too.
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned the co-authored book. You were invited in to do that. How is that different? How did that feel different than writing your own? Was there a lot of back and forth?
Oh, we had a lovely time doing it. It's in some ways it's more fun
Hmm.
because you're not just in your own head.
Yes, I can see that.
It's not, yes, but it's more complicated. And one of the reasons that Shaitan and I worked very well together is that he is one of the masters of human design. He's been soaking in it for so many years. I haven't. Well, I've been with it for 8 years now at least, but I have the channel of the organizer running from my mind to my throat. So I have a sense of structure, which Shaitan doesn't. So we were leaning on each other, his genius, my structure, working together, which was delightful. We started actually with who we were writing the book for, very obviously, but then a sense of the book structure.
Hmm.
And we each took different chapters. So we wrote our own chapters and then sent them to the other for the first edit. So by the time the book went to our external editor, there were some chapters we honestly weren't quite sure which of us had written the first draft. And she couldn't always tell. Some chapters were obvious, but not always. So that was quite nice. And it also meant that our voice was becoming more consistent.
That's great. And of course it worked well. How could it not with going into it knowing your designs and writing it with an expert? Like you know how the other works, so you can come together with that
Yeah,
synergy.
yeah, yeah.
Very
It was
cool.
fun.
What has been perhaps the most surprising thing that came out of either book? An opportunity or an open door, an open window?
It's almost more than the books. It's the finding my authentic expression. In my business, I talk about helping people find outcomes that are inner certainty, effortless coherence, and deep joy. And this process helped me find those in myself. It's almost been a kind of gathering process of finding parts of myself that maybe had been exiled or I hadn't known for a while or needed to be updated. And somehow through the writing, I found my own voice that much more clearly. And maybe it's not a surprise because words were important when I was little. One of my father's favorite expressions was, engage brain before opening mouth.
Smart advice.
Well, yes. But that also pushed me into writing because if I didn't quite have the vocabulary or I wasn't quite sure how to say something, and he could be quite volatile. As an adult looking back, I think he heard his mother coming out of my voice. Ship had been rocky.
Yeah.
So writing it, I had time to find the safe word. And I think then now, having written these books, I wasn't looking for the safe word. I was looking for the authentic expression, the true words, the most accurate representation that felt good, was an invitation to other people to find their own authenticity rather than copying somebody else's because that's what they were told to do.
Yes, we need more people writing books like that. Yes, please, more of that. You work with women. I work with a lot of women as well. And the women you work with sounds like they're at some kind of a transition point. They have experience, they know what they're doing, they're successful, and maybe they freeze when it comes to writing. What do you think is happening?
I suspect a freeze response, it's been triggered in some way. And very often, my transaction analysis teacher had a lovely expression for this. It was a rubber band. It was almost as if you were pinged back into a previous, probably earlier in your life experience,
Mm-hmm.
and were reacting to that rather than reacting to the current moment. So people have different experiences of school. Some people are told that they're completely brilliant and other people are told they're completely useless. And of course, neither are actually completely true or even true at all. But it could have been one essay that came back with this is rubbish. That years later, they haven't thought about, but actually suddenly as they start to write, it's kind of like, can I? And that's, we have some lovely tools at our disposal now. You don't have to write it, you can dictate it.
Isn't that amazing?
Does speaking come more easily than writing? Or do
Yeah.
you actually like the old fashioned, do you want to get a fountain pen out and beautiful paper? Kind of what works for you? My mother much preferred speaking to writing. She said words would make a fool out of her. And indeed they did. She once wrote a condolence letter to someone who'd written to her that sadly his wife was gone, only to discover several years later what he'd meant was that she'd divorced him, not that she died.
Oh no.
But Mum had committed that to paper. She couldn't call it back.
Oh no.
But I was taught rather the other way around. If I had to engage brain before opening mouth, then actually I'd rather put it on paper first because that was safer.
Yes.
So it's finding the way that suits you, I think, that makes all the difference. That is, of course, having understood that you have something important to say. And one of the gifts of human design is understanding that nobody has the same design as any of us, or at least won't for more than another 20,000 years.
Good.
Yeah. So if that isn't an invitation to offer your gift to the world, I don't know what is.
I've never heard that before. I love human design even more now because of that. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, people talk about type and authority and these things because we humans like to categorize things. It helps us make sense of the world.
Yes.
Actually, nobody has Jacqueline's design except Jacqueline. Let's say for another more than 20,000 years.
Good. I don't have to worry about any. I've actually been thinking of that lately, how we are all really a category of one in our own way. Like the unique gifts, our stories, everything
Yes.
that makes us us. It is truly one. And the number of people I hear, you probably hear this too, say things like, oh, it's already been said before. So and so is already talking about this. Someone did it better. Like, what do you mean better? No, it's different.
It's different, and we all have different things we hear at different times in life. You may have been told the same thing over and over again, but it isn't until a certain experience happens you go, oh, that's what they meant, and it lands. And you just happen to be the person who said it this time. So, no, I think writing is a lovely way to offer your contribution. For those of us that enjoy it, if you don't, there's no point. But if you do, then fabulous way of contributing,
Yes,
fabulous way of leaving a legacy, and a great way of finding your own really authentic voice if you're not confident in it already.
exactly. I love that. I know you do a newsletter. What else are you writing now?
I'm putting the finishing touches to a workbook, Unfold Now. That comes out in 2 or 3 weeks' time, so it really is the finishing touches at this point.
Yes.
I'm writing the newsletter, as you say, that comes out each month. I am gathering material at the moment. I'm not quite sure where it's going to launch. Substack might be an obvious place, but I haven't concluded that. I'm gathering the stories, and we'll decide where that goes later in the year.
I love that.
There are other books bubbling around in my head, but I think I'm going to just see what emerges first before I put pen to paper again.
So good. And you've had such great experiences with them. So, of course, the third, fourth, fifth, however many books you have in you will certainly just flow.
Yes, it'll be fun. But again, there's no point in forcing it. No point in forcing it. I'm a projector, so I'll see where the invitations lie. Invitations don't need to come in a beautifully embossed piece of cardboard, although they're very nice too. But yeah, human design in families might lead to human design in teams, but
Hmm.
we'll see.
Interesting. Such a good reminder about what the invitation may or may not look like. It doesn't need to be fancy and beautiful and heavy card stock.
Yes, I sometimes think that actually all of us, possibly with the exception of manifestors, but we need to go around with our kind of antennae, like radios, sort of twitching. Which radio station is the one to plug into at the moment? Where's the most exciting thing to respond to? Where are the best invitations? The universe has strange ways of working, so it can be fun. Oh, I hadn't spotted that one before. I was very surprised that Shaitan asked me to write with him. It was a lovely thing to do, a fabulous invitation, but that wouldn't have come if I hadn't already been writing The Nurtured Nest.
Right.
So you never quite know where things are going to lead. But it's great fun to actually start and find out where that path goes.
Yes, I'm with you. That is the fun part.
Mm.
I mean, it's all fun. All the parts are fun in their own ways.
Yes, yes, and there's some hard work too.
Of course. Yeah. Yes, it's fun and it's work. And I think work might scare some people. But
Well, yeah, I sometimes think that writing a book is a little bit like, I don't know, running a marathon or doing an
Mhm.
Ironman, in the sense that technically any of us could do these things,
Mhm.
but actually only a few people will choose to. So there's the invitation, perhaps, if any of your listeners are wondering whether to give it a go, give it a go. Never know where it might lead.
Exactly. I love that. I love our conversation. There's so many great nuggets. I think you sprinkled us all with some gold dust and some wisdom. I love asking a super simple, fun question to close with. When you are writing or editing, what is your favorite thing to sip?
Probably Earl Grey tea, but I drink it like flavored hot water.
Of course you do. I'm not surprised at all. Thank you,
Yes.
Pippa. Thank you for being here. We will link to your books and your website in the show notes. And actually, I lied when I said that was my final question. One final question. What do you want to leave a woman who's thinking about writing her book right now? What do you want to say to her?
Just start.
Mhm.
You've no idea where it will lead. And there is something cathartic in getting the ideas percolating in your head out onto paper. And that may be enough. But it might lead to all sorts of exciting discoveries, either for your own or for people who might then be reading your book or your 10th book after that one. So just start and see where it leads.
I love that. Just start, see where it leads. Thank you so much, Pippa, for being here.
You're most welcome, Jacqueline. It was a pleasure.